Okay, so we completed with lookup and the master detail relationship, and few things like the lookup filter and the dialog box configuration that also we have seen. We also have discussed like what in which particular scenario you would be going with lookup relationship and or maybe a master detail relationship, and based on what would be the real-time facts based on which you are going to take the decision, okay, I should go with lookup relationship over here, or no, I should apply a master detail relationship, right? So based on what facts and based on what conclusion you will going to decide it, that also have been covered in the last session. Now let me start with a kind of relationship many to many. Now, see, in the beginning itself, when I started with this topic relationship, I told you that there are 6 kind of relationships, right? There are 6 different kinds of relationship in Salesforce. If someone asks you this in interview and you have to describe this, so what you have to say, like, first of all, start with count, because that is what, it would immediately grab an attention. Now, see, lookup external, lookup and master. Look, one second. Lookup external, lookup and master detail, and hierarchy. These are what, these are the standard relationship. These are present inside the Salesforce. I mean, there's an option in Salesforce to create this relationship. Although you haven't seen hierarchy so far, but I'll going to show you that even that option is also available. So when you go to, when you go to a particular relationship, when you go to, I have so many instances open now. Let me close this one. Yeah. So see, when you go to, for example, if I go to hiring manager and there, if I expand force.com, I go with like, a new. And when I wanted to create a relationship, you can see that we are having these 3 options. I'm going to show you the hierarchy as well. So what, usually these 4 relationship, lookup relationship, master detail, external lookup, and hierarchy, these are said to be the standard relationship. Why they are called a standard relationship? The only reason behind this, you can see them, there is an option. There's an option. If you wanted to create lookup, there is an option. I mean, onto this particular custom field page. So you can see this option on user interface. Similarly, there's an option for master detail. There is also an option for external lookup. You are going to see that there is an option for hierarchy as well. But where to see that would be a part of discussion. We're going to cover this in the hierarchy when we started this. Anyways, so but these 4 relationships, lookup, external lookup, master detail, and hierarchy, they are said to be what? Standard. Many to many and one to one. Many to many and one to one, these are not direct relationship. First of all, these are not a direct relationship. But based on certain circumstances, you have to go with this. Based on certain circumstances, you have to create many to many or one to one. Now, so before going further with this, what exactly many to many and how to create that relationship. First of all, we would understand what is that scenario. What is that situation where you have to create a many to many. Where you have to, and this one is very tricky. I'm telling you this. Very few people know about this type of situation, and they know, like, okay, how to come up with that situation, how to cope with that situation. And what is that situation? I'm telling you that. All right. So see, I'll do one thing. I'll try to create a diagram for as quickly as possible. So I'm having 2 objects with me. All right. I'm having 2 objects with me. Let's say that I'm having one object called book, right? I'm having one object called book. Let me try to quickly create this diagram. So I'm having 2 objects with me. Yes, I'm having 2 objects with me. One object is book. Let me try to quickly create certain columns and whatever. I usually don't create diagram. For first batch, I have created so many of them. I just, I just avoid, because this takes lots of time. This takes lots of time actually. Okay, so let's consider this is my first object, right? Let's consider that this is my first object. Let me quickly copy this and paste it. So now I'm having one more object, and the second object is author. All right, I'm having one more object. Second object is author. Okay, so the first is, let's say the first is 36. Let me make it 16. The first object is a book object, right? The first object is a book object. And my second object is, let's say this object is an author object. All right. Now both of them is having certain fields. Let me try to quickly create them as well. So my the first field is ID, and then we are having a field like name. ID name usually is very common, and for example, let's say ISBN number, and let's say like price. And similarly, we are having one another table, another object called author. Now author have ID, author also have name, and let's say that author also have location, and author maybe have kind of, I don't know, let's say specialization. So something like that. Now see, let me quickly create few entries inside this so that you would understand it in a better. Let's go with this only. All right. So inside book, I have few entries like 001. The name of the book is, for example, Java, and ISBN number is something like this. Price is, for example, 450. And similarly, I have another book called 002, right? 002, and the name is, for example, software engineering, and ISBN number is something like that. And then the price is like this much. And then I have one more book like 003, and let's say it is something like software testing, and the ISBN number for this is like this, and the price is, for example, 1000. Now let me quickly create few entries over inside the author as well. Now let's say we are having one author like A01. The name is, for example, Ramesh. Location is, for example, India. Specialization is something. Then I have one more author called like I have one more author like A02, something like this, and this is like Suresh, and he belongs to England, and this is something more specialization is. Then I'm having A03, maybe like Kavita, and she belongs to something like USA, and then the specialization is this. All right. Now see, we have been told, to create a relationship between these two objects. Now we are having one object called book, another object called author. All right. And we have been, told to create a relationship between them. Now, whenever we wanted to create a relationship, what is the first step of doing that? What is the first step? We have to identify, among these two objects, which one is parent and which one is child. How to identify? And how to make one of them as child, another one as a parent. For that, you should know, or maybe you have an understanding about the dependencies, which one is dependent on which, right? So we are having very less information about this. Okay, very insufficient information. So I'm exactly not sure who is dependent onto which. Book is dependent onto author, or maybe author is having a dependency on book. All right. So even though we are having very less information regarding this, we could at least start by making certain assumptions over here. And this is a very common phenomenon when in the mathematics, especially when you don't know something, you just start with certain hypothesis. I mean, you make certain assumption and you solve that problem. So that is how we have to act over here as well, right? I never understand why they taught mathematics in subject, मतलब आज तक नहीं समझ में आया कि where to use derivative integrations and all that. But maybe शायद होता होगा कि that should be a compulsory subject. Otherwise maths तो मेरे को आज तक समझा नहीं है. But anyways, let's make an assumption. कि हम बुक को पेरेंट और ऑथर को चाइल्ड बना के देखते हैं. लेट्स ट्राई विद दिस पॉसिबिलिटी. ऑलराइट, लेट मी डू वन मोर थिंग. Let's consider that Java is one of the book which has been written by Kavita. All right, Java has been written by Kavita. All right, then another book is called software engineering book. Software engineering book has been written by Ramesh. Even software engineering also has been written by Kavita. This is perfectly possible. One author could written multiple titles. All right, so software engineering has been written by Ramesh and Kavita. These two are the authors. Next in line we have one book called as software testing. Now software testing has been written by Ramesh. All right, the software testing has been written by Ramesh. Also, the software testing has been written by written by Suresh as well, right? The software testing has been written by Suresh as well. Let's consider these facts. Okay, let's consider these facts. Let me store this to your drive. I'll be sharing this now, your folder. I'll be sharing this to your drive. All right. See, so we were having this scenario that there are few of the books like Java, software engineering, and software testing. Now, Java has been written by Kavita. Software engineering book, we can see that Ramesh has also written this book. The same title also have been written by Kavita as well. All right. And then the software testing book, again, there are two authors for this. Ramesh also have written this book. In fact, Suresh also has written this. Now let's consider this book as what? Let's consider book to be the parent. Now see, we have to somewhere how we have to start it. Otherwise, if you don't know exactly to make which one to be make as a parent or which one to be make as a child, Okay, so I'll do one thing. I'll be taking this. I'll making this as parent object. I'll making this why it is looking like this. That is the reason I usually don't draw the diagrams. It requires lots of adjustment and all that, right? And let's consider your author object as what? As a child object. All right. Now, see, we started by creating, by making one of them as parent, another one as a child. That was my point number one. Yes, that was my point number one. Okay, we must identify among these two objects which one is the parent and which one is the child. So we exactly don't know about, we don't have any idea about the exact dependencies. All right. So what we make is like, we make certain hypothesis, we make certain assumptions over here, and then we we make an assumption like, let's consider book to be the parent and author to be the child. Somehow we have to start, right? So we certainly would require to take the first step. Maybe within, we could also be wrong, but that is, if we are wrong, we're going to identify this. Somehow we'll come to know कि हाँ चलो ये assumption जो हमने बनाया that was wrong. Let's take the second assumption. Let's make it vice versa. Anyways, so about one thing, that if you are considering author as a child, so the relationship fields, they are always created inside author, right? The relationship fields, they are always created inside where? Inside the child object. Sorry. So I have to create one new field. One new field matlab one new column. I have to add it inside child, because relationship, if we are creating, the relationship field is always added. It's always created inside child object. That is your point number two. We know that whenever we create a relationship, there are two steps that involve. Point number one, identify child. Point number two, create a relationship, but where? Inside the child. Now, because we are considering author as a child object, so I'm creating a new relationship field over here. Let me give a name to that as well. So the name what I'm giving to him, this column, this field is, let's say BID, book ID. And why I'm giving this name? Because it would going to store the respective book ID for, right? All right. So let's make the entry for this. So let's say Ramesh, when I go to Ramesh, let's see, Ramesh is associated to which? So Ramesh is associated to a software engineering, right? What is the code of software engineering? What is the ID of software engineering? 002. So I'm writing 002 over here. But you can see there's one more entry. There's one blue line as well. Ramesh also have written one more book called software testing, right? What is the code of software testing? 003. So should I write it down like this, 003? And that means that Ramesh has written two different books? No. Understand, here is like, exactly what is the problem. If you go with this entry, right? If you go with the second one entry, if you look at into the Suresh, now Suresh has written a book called as software testing. What is the code of software testing? 003. That is okay. But over here, when you go with the third one, again, the same problem arrives. Again, the same problem. What is that problem? Into your relationship field, you can see multiple parents ID. And we are going to talk about this. Don't worry. Let me first of all highlight that issue. Let me first of all highlight that issue. So Kavita, when you see the entry of Kavita, Kavita has written a book called Java. The code of Java is 001. But I can see that there is one more code. The Kavita is also written. It's associated to one more record, software engineering, and the code is 002. The ID is 002, not code. The ID is 002. Is this eligible? No, absolutely not. See, I described you in the beginning itself. Now you have to think it in the very broader way. थोड़ा सभी को ध्यान देना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे. Otherwise, it's not possible to understand this. I'm telling you this. You have to pay attention and you have to revise everything. You remember, guys, I told you whenever we create a relationship, what is the kind of mapping that is generated? The mapping is always one to many. The mapping is always one to many. The mapping is always one to many. Now, who is one? Parent is one. Who is many? Child. One parent could have multiple childs. That is allowed. One parent could have multiple childs. That is allowed. But child should always have one parent. If you see, if you look the relationship from parents end, one parent could have multiple childs, one too many. All right, that is okay. For example, there's a parent who's having 3 children. So when you are looking from the perspective of parent, you can see 3 different lines: child 1, child 2, and child 3. If you are looking from, you are standing in front of parent, and from there you are looking to the child, you would see that there is child 1, this is child 2, and this is child 3. Now you shift yourself to the child's end, and maybe you are standing with child 1. What you will see? Parent, same parent. You go to child 2, again the same parent. You go to child 3, again the same parent. So from the child end, parent should always be one. And this is what a relationship field actually do. Let me show you that. Let me show you that. See, we have created, for example, inside the position object, we have created a relationship. A position is related to hiring manager. Position, by the way, is child. Hiring manager is parent. And I have a field called HR manager. Inside position, I have a field called HR manager, this field. Now, this field is my relationship field. It allows me to select a parent. It allows me to select a parent. Now, see, when I click onto this lookup icon, all right, it would allow me to select a parent. All right, I have to select a location for this. Let me select this and let's go with this. All right, let me try to somewhere, we have 2 parents. I'm not sure. एक मिनट, मुझे देखने दो 2 parent कहाँ पर हैं. Nagpur. All right. So if I select the city as Nagpur, and now if I go with this, right? See, even though you can see there are 2 records, which actually satisfy the condition. But you tell me, do you have a possibility to select both of them? क्या आप अक्षय दवे और सुनील शर्मा दोनों को select कर सकते हो? No, you can select only one. Child must have only one parent. आप पेरेंट के एंड से कितने भी चाइल्ड सिलेक्ट कर दो. दिस इज माय पोजीशन 1. ठीक है, अगर मैं एक पोजीशन और क्रिएट कर रहा हूं, इवन देयर एज वेल आई कुड सिलेक्ट द सेम पेरेंट. सी, फॉर दिस पोजीशन आई हैवंट सेव्ड इट, बट एग्जांपल है मेरा कि देयर इज एन पोजीशन कॉल्ड XYZ, and for this XYZ position I am selecting parent as to what? Sunil Sharma. There's another position called ABC. For ABC as well I could select the same parent, Sunil Sharma. So Sunil Sharma is a parent of ABC and XYZ. That's perfect. ये ठीक है. Sunil Sharma parent है. He is holding 2 childs. Child 1. This is my child 1. Let's consider this is my child 1. All right. And this is my child 2. Child 2. This is okay. मैंने कहा ना, जब when you see this from the parent end, so you can have one too many. One parent could have multiple child. So that is perfect. That is possible. But now please tell me one thing. If you are creating an entry from the child must have only one parent. There is only one possibility. See, there's only, even though I could see the 2 names of hiring manager which are qualifying this, the location, whatever the formula, the location of position is equals to the location of hiring manager, whatever. Even though if there is no formula, you'll see the multiple options of selection, that what we already had seen. Can I select multiple parents for this child? No, that is what is not possible in Salesforce, right? You have to have only one parent for every child. Now, what you see over here is a situation where Ramesh is a child. but Ramesh is associated to two parents. Like Ramesh, if you make author object as a child object, if you make author object as a child object, do you see this ambiguity? It should be ideally, it should be like this. ये जो entry होना चाहिए ना कि वो ऐसा होना चाहिए था. It should be unique. कि there's an object, there's a record inside author. There's a record called Suresh. Suresh has written only one book. That book is software testing. What is the idea of software testing? 003. Now this is unique. This should happen. If this happens, we could consider author as a child. But I have, I can see that there are multiple entries inside the child where this ambiguity is generating. Where one record of this author is associated to multiple records of book. Ramesh is associated to software engineering. Ramesh also has been associated to software testing, 002 and 003. And similarly, this record of Kavita is also associated with 001 and then 002. This should not happen. This is not allowed in Salesforce. Child could have only one parent. Child could have only one parent. But as you can see, for these two entries, or maybe multiple, or even a single entry do this, we are not, we cannot create this relationship. So now what is my end conclusion? Because inside the author, if I make author as a child object, I cannot establish one-to-many relationship. Listen this, I'm repeating this once again. And see why people usually skip this. The first reason, they don't know. They don't know about many-to-many. That is why they don't taught it. आता होगा तो खुद से पढ़ाएंगे ना, नहीं आता तो कहां से पढ़ाएंगे. Second reason, even if they know this, they don't know how to explain this. They don't know how to explain this, and that is the reason कि यार मैं जब खुद ही नहीं समझा पाऊंगा तो why should I taught this? And you would never know because you are very novice to this. ना आप तो अभी आए, आपको थोड़ी ना पता कि Salesforce में कितनी सारी चीजें अवेलेबल है. बट कैसा है, ये सिचुएशन रियल टाइम पे बहुत इजीली जनरेट होती है. And then you have a biggest stuck of your life. Because what you आपने जितना पढ़ा था वो सारा एक तरफ रह जाता है. And I'm just coming to that. I'm just coming to that point. कि कितना biggest blunder होता है जिंदगी का कि आदमी ना मतलब सोच में पड़ जाता है कि what should I do now? तो चलिए, तो यहाँ पे because what we have been taught is like, कि whenever you wanted to create a relationship, consider one of them has to be the child. And I started making my own assumption that let's make me author as a child. But then we end up with a blunder कि हमको पता चला रे ये काम नहीं कर रहा boss. This is not working fine. Because I can see if I'm making author as a child, I'm creating a relationship field over there. I can see that relationship field is coming up with multiple entries for single record of child. That shouldn't be happen. That shouldn't be happen because that is not allowed. You cannot have this. You cannot have multiple parents for a single child. That is not possible. All right. So my end conclusion is over here is like नहीं ये गलत हो गया आप में से, यहाँ पे बहुत बड़ी गलती हो गई कि we cannot make this author as a child. I cannot make this. All right. So I'm removing this and I'm making that ठीक है. Author cannot be a child object. चलो ठीक है. Author cannot be a child object and book cannot be a parent object. All right. ठीक है. If this is not possible, let's try with the vice versa possibility. अपन तो इंडियन लोग हैं, अपन जुगाड़ करने में सबसे ज्यादा माहिर होते हैं, right? That is what our engineering, basic engineering. So let's try with the vice versa possibility. Let's make your book as child. Let's make your book as child and then author as parent. ठीक है. अगर ये काम नहीं करा तो अपन उसको पलटा के देखते हैं. ठीक है. स्कूटर स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ तो स्कूटर को सुलाओ, उसके बाद एक किक मारो. यही होता है अपने यहाँ तो ठीक है. लेट्स ट्राई विद दिस वाइस वर्सा पॉसिबिलिटी. लेट्स कंसीडर बुक टू बी द चाइल्ड, ऑथर टू बी द पेरेंट. ठीक है ना? All right. So see, inside the child object, you have to create a relationship field, right? Because relationship fields are always present. I'm adding one more column. I'm adding one more field over here. And let me give the name as well, because this would allow you to select author. Inside book, there is a field which allow you to select author name, कुछ भी दे सकते हो आप इसको. I'm giving the name as like, author ID, something like that, whatever. Auth ID, right? So this is a field where I, inside when I'm creating a book record, I have a facility to select what? I have a facility to select author for this, right? Like when you go with position, you're having a facility to select hiring manager. That is what a relationship field would do, right? From if I ask you what is the purpose of having this field, hiring manager, HR manager, you would say me, see, whenever you are creating a position, this field would facilitate you that you could select one hiring manager for this. All right, this is a child record, you could select a parent from this. Oh, that's good to know. Fine. Similarly, inside this field, inside book, what is this field would do? This would allow you to select one author for this. Very good. But author should be one only. Why? Because that is parent. That is parent. Hiring manager should only be one for one position. Why? Position is child. Hiring manager is parent. You should be you are allowed to select only one parent for this, right? You can do reparenting. आज ये parent है, कल उसको बना दो, वो ठीक है. But एक समय में in a single quantum of time there must only be one parent. All right. आज अगर सुरेश पेरेंट है तो कल रमेश भी हो जाएगा, वो रीपेरेंटिंग है, वो ठीक है. वो मास्टर डिटेल में अलाउ नहीं है, वो लुकअप में, वो एक अलग बात है, वो एक अलग बात है. But at least in a single, in a single instance of time, there's only one parent for every child, right? So if I will make book as a child, I have to create one relationship field. I created, let's give the name as author ID. Now this field would allow me to select, parent for this book, author for this book, and that must be unique. All right, that's good to know. Let's start with this. All right, who's the parent of this book? Java. I can see that Java has been written by Kavita. What is the idea? What is the author ID? Is A03. Very good. It's A03. Very good. अभी तक तो बिल्कुल सही लग रहा है सब कुछ, अभी तक तो बिल्कुल सही लग रहा है सब कुछ, अभी तक तो बिल्कुल सही लग रहा है. Now we go to the next entry called software engineering. Now who has written software engineering? Ramesh has written. What is the idea of Ramesh? A01. A01. But now the ambiguity arrives. Because see, this book, software engineering, there's one more author, Kavita. What is an idea of Kavita? A03. A03. Similarly, over here as well. Software testing has been written by Ramesh, A01. It has also been written by Suresh, A02. Now, tell me, is this allowed? Is this allowed? Again, no. Again, no. Relationship fields are unique. It cannot have multiple entries. You cannot select multiple parent for a single child. These fields are unique. You can either select any one of them. If you are having multiple options from this lookup box, you can select any one of them. But you cannot select two records. There couldn't be two parents for a single child. For one parent, there could be multiple child. That is what a relationship fields default mapping is, one to many. I cannot have multiple parents for a single child. And this is what is problem. This is what a problem arrives. So my final conclusion is, I cannot make book as a parent, author as a child. I cannot even make book as a child. I cannot even make book as a child, or maybe author as a parent. We cannot do this. We cannot do this. Now see, this is the biggest blunder of your life when you are about to create a relationship. When I say create a relationship, let me save this, between these two objects, right? And then I propose this thing. Okay, see, you should have an option to select multiple authors from a book. You should have an option to select multiple books from an author. And if you try to simulate this whole thing, you end up with this diagram. So the people, if anybody is like, the person who has not learned how to tackle this situation, he end up by saying, it's not possible to create a relationship between these two objects. Why? Because the nature of the object is like, you cannot make any one of them as a child object. You cannot make any one of them as a child object. Because see, whenever you wanted to create a relationship, the field of relationship is always created onto child object, right? So if I wanted to create a relationship, lookup or master detail, external lookup, whatever, I must know who is a child object, because this relationship field is always created inside the child. And the situation what we are looking to right now, we cannot make any one of them as a child, either of them as a child. No, it's not possible. You cannot have book as a child. You cannot even make author as a child. If you cannot make any one of them as a child, tell me how and where you are going to create a relationship. It's not possible. So this is, one of that scenario. If it is generated in real time, this is going to be your nightmare if you don't know how to tackle this. If you don't know how to tackle this. And I have seen so many videos, guys, believe me. Even, we also have been not being taught about this. When I was doing my Salesforce training, that time, they ask us to do about lookup external master detail, but they haven't that time itself, they haven't told anything about this kind of situation. This is something what is being generated in real time. And it was a shock. It was a shock of whole life. कैसे करेंगे यार? कैसे करेंगे? And then, it would all, whatever, whatever the situation, I mean, how to create this and all that. Whatever I'm teaching right now is a part of research. काफी समय लगा फिर इसको आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए. The reason only was we were not being taught to how to handle this kind of situation, right? This is why, this is why you should learn many to many. And you would be among very few people, those who have an understanding about the situation, those who can handle this kind of scenarios. There would be only few people in a team. You would be only one of them. Why? Because you know how to handle this kind of situation. And this arrives, this generates. Out of every 10 relationship, if you are creating 3 must have this kind of situation. This is a very, very real time, very realistic situation. I'm telling you this. तो लोगों को क्या लगता है कि यार रिलेशनशिप कोई बड़ी चीज नहीं है, आप डिपेंडेंसीज आइडेंटिफाई कर लो, चाइल्ड ऑब्जेक्ट पर रिलेशनशिप फील्ड क्रिएट कर लो. बट जब ऐसी कुछ सिचुएशन जनरेट होती है जहां पे आप किसी को भी चाइल्ड बना ही नहीं पा रहे हो, बोथ ऑफ देम आर एक्टिंग एज एन पेरेंट, है ना? एक्चुअली इट शुड बी व्हाट, वन टू मेनी रिलेशनशिप होना चाहिए यहाँ पे, बट ऐसा पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. Both of them are acting as a parent, so you cannot make a relationship field, because that field is always intended to be created onto child. No one of them, no one of them is agreed to become child. If there is no child, there is no relationship, obviously, right? तो ये देखो, ऐसा ये सिचुएशन है बॉस, ये है वो सिचुएशन कि जब आपको 2 ऑब्जेक्ट प्रपोज की जाती है और आपसे बोलते हैं कि इस पर रिलेशनशिप बनाओ, एंड यू ट्राई टू, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लेट्स के क्या आप उस पर डिपेंडेंसीज आइडेंटिफाई करते हो, आपको नहीं समझ में आता. फिर आप क्या करते हो, you'll make certain, you start with certain assumption. आप दोनों में से किसी एक को चाइल्ड कंसिडर करते हो, रिलेशनशिप बनाने का कोशिश करते हो, नहीं होता है. देन वी ट्राई विद द वाइस वर्सा पॉसिबिलिटी. ठीक है, चलो, आई मीन लेट्स कंसीडर, मैं अपनी गलती एक्सेप्ट करता हूँ, मैं मानता हूँ मेरे से गलती हो गई कि मैंने बुक को चाइल्ड और ऑथर को पेरेंट बनाया. नाउ आई ट्राई विद द वाइस वर्सा पॉसिबिलिटी. फिर से हम वही सिचुएशन पे वापस आ जाते हैं. तो इससे बड़ा झटका कुछ नहीं होता फिर. और सोचो अगर आपको ये सिचुएशन हैंडल करनी नहीं आती तो फिर क्या होगा. महाभारत सुनी होगी ना, मतलब मैंने तो पढ़ी भी है. अभिमन्यु के साथ यही हुआ था ना कि he just know how to enter into that चक्रव्यूह, but he don't know, like he even know how to, वो उसको क्या बोलते हैं, चक्रव्यूह भेद करना भी उसको आता था. But the final conclusion was he don't know how to get extracted, how to get out from that situation. So he enter into very confidence, he do whatever, he was like, उसने कर भी दिया था. But then he finally end up by losing his life. Why? Because he just don't know how to get, rid of that particular situation. So this is a very realistic scenario, guys. If you don't know how to handle this, you are going to end up with like Abhimanyu over there. चलो, तो अब इसको हैंडल कैसे करना? Then let's come to many to many. इसीलिए many to many पढ़ाया जाता है. So when you see this, when you end up with this kind of situation, when there are 2 objects, both of them are parent, no one is becoming child. So how to do that? So this kind of situation is handled with many to many. Now what you have to do over here is, like, you would not consider any one of them as child. Rather you would create one separate object over here. You would create a separate object over here. You would create a separate object over here. And this object, what I'm creating right now, this could have any number of columns. I mean, don't think इसमें 2 ही fields होंगी. It is just an example. I'm trying to simplify this. It could have any number of fields. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, ठीक है? But this object, what I'm creating, this object, what I am creating right now, this object, what I'm creating right now, it is considered, this object is considered to be the common child. This object, which I'm creating right now, is considered to be the common child for both of the parents. This object is considered to be the common child. And this common child object is called as junction object. This common child, this object is called as junction object. This object is called as junction object. ठीक है? This object, आ जाना भाई cursor. हाँ, this object is called as a junction object. So you have to create one another object for this, just to make this association to happen, just to make this mapping to be created, just to create a relationship. You have to create one another object for this. I cannot make book as parent, child, sorry, no problem. I cannot even make author as a child, no problem. Let's consider book to be the parent. Let's consider author to be parent. Let's create one another child, a common child for these two parents. Common child for these two parents. All right. So you can give any name for this. I can give any name. For example, I'm giving the name as I'm giving object must have also have. उसका nature common child है. Technically it is called a junction object, पर उसका कुछ तो नाम होगा ना. चंटू बंटू संटू कुछ तो नाम होगा. So I'm giving the name as book author object. You can give any name. I'm just trying to relevant this. Book author object नाम है इसका. The name is book author object. ठीक है? The name is book author object. Anyways, let it be present over here. Now this have two columns. It could have any columns. ऐसे कुछ नहीं कि दो. I'm just trying to simplify this. So this is having two columns. In the first column, I'm having a field called say BID, book ID. And now in the second columns, I'm having a field called AID, author ID. All right, let's see the entries. Let's see the entries as well. अब देखो आप ये कैसे signify होता है. अब देखो, ठीक है. So I'm having a book called as 001. I'm having a book called as 001. Now this book 001 has been written by an author called Kavita. What is the ID of Kavita? A03. A03. Very good. Is there any author for 001? No, there's no author. Fine. The next entry over here is 002. 002. Right. Now, who is the author? The book is software engineering. Who has written software engineering? There are two authors for this. First is A01. A01. And similarly for 002. Again, the same entry 002. But now the parent is different. Who is the parent? For A002. This book also have been written by Kavita. So A03. See, every entry over here is unique. Every entry over here is unique. The next book is software testing. The ID of software testing is 003. Okay, who has written this? Two of them has written this. So A003 has been written by A01. And similarly, this again, the same book, 003. This also have been written by the second author is Kavita. So it's it's not Kavita, Suresh, A02. All right, this is what? This is
So your voice is not.
yes, my voice is coming or not? Tell me. अरे कोई तो बताओ यार. Tell me guys whether my voice is coming or not. All right, all right, all right. Okay, whenever this happens, just let me know into the chat. All right, let me know. If you feel like, okay, my voices get break something in between, just let me know onto the chat. No problem. We'll acknowledge this. All right, let me repeat this once again. So what I did is, like, I created a common child, another object I have created to map this relationship. I created one more object, because directly it's not possible to create relationship between book and author, right? Between these two objects, I couldn't directly create a relationship. So what I did over here is, like, okay, I have created one another object for this. And this object, this object is acting as a common child for both of the parents. Now, this type of object, first of all, is called as a junction object. Then I start creating entry over here. So the first entry is, like, I started by taking book ID. So if the book ID is 001, let's see, this book has been written by whom author. So the author is Kavita. So the entry is A03. Next, I come up with 002, the another book. So 002, I can see there are multiple authors for this. But over here, even see over here, you see the multiple authors, but the entry over here is every unique entry. Like if I see this entry, so this is one, like, A002 with A01, and then 002 with A03. This reflects two separate entries, right? So I could say that these are some unique entries, right? 002 along with A01, and then 002 along with A03 as well. And similarly, 003 is associated with A01, and 003 is also associated with A02. But from this end, if you see, every entry seems to be a unique entry. For every child, there is only one parent, right? There's only one parent. For this entry, there's only one parent. For every entry over here is the unique entry. So this is how you maintain, this is how you handle the situation. So now, I mean, what is the thumb rule for this? If you see this kind of situation, when you are not being able to create a direct relationship between the two objects, because if you wanted to create a direct relationship, one of them should always be a child. If I wanted to associate book with author, or maybe author with book, one of them should be a child object. But if I cannot do that, if I cannot make any one of them as child, and both of them rather is acting as a parent, so what to do, how to associate them? So then you have to go with another way, that create a junction object, create a common child, that junction object. And via junction object, now you could map this. Via junction object, now you could map it. All right, so this is the way. Now let me create a mapping. Junction objects, they are associated with parent. Obviously, they are associated with parent. Junction objects, they are associated with parents. Now, I would ask you, rather, I'll explain you one situation, and then, we would going to discuss what should be the type of this relationship. What should be the type of this relationship? Either it should be lookup, or either it should be a master detail relationship. All right. Either it should be a lookup or a master detail. Junction objects, like this object, book author object, is having a relationship between both. It is having a relationship with book object. Now this object also is having a relationship with author object. And we have to identify what should be the type of relationship. What should be the type of relationship between a junction object and the parent and the associated parent? What should be the type of relationship? Either it should be a lookup or a master detail. So let's identify that. All right. So for this, I'm proposing certain scenario. चलो ऐसा मान के चलते हैं कि बुक ऑब्जेक्ट में से ये जो एंट्री है, ठीक है, ये रिमूव हो जाती है. That means now inside the book object, there is no entry of software engineering book. This has been deleted. Book object में से ये जो रिकॉर्ड है सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग का, ये डिलीट हो चुका है. अगर ये यहां से डिलीट हो चुका है, now if book doesn't have any entry 002 software engineering, your junction object should also not point to this. जंक्शन ऑब्जेक्ट से भी वो एंट्री, वो सारी एंट्री जहां पे 002 है वो हट जाना चाहिए। क्यों हटना चाहिए? अगर स्टिल इफ इट हैव दिस एंट्री, तो इट रेजेस अ क्वेश्चन कि 002 belongs to which entry inside book. So this is raising a problem called as null pointer exception. That means it is pointing to a record which is actually is not there inside object. Now, if this record 002, I mean, if you remove 002 from the parent, from the book, still your child is holding 002. This arises a question कि ये 002 किसको belong करता है? Who is this 002 record? Because inside book object, there's nothing like 002. So in that situation, this record, this complete record, not just 002, 002 along with this complete record should also be get removed. और मे बी लाइक कि अगर मैं कहता हूं कि ऑथर में से कोई एक रिकॉर्ड, जैसे कि मान के चलिए कि ये सुरेश का रिकॉर्ड जो है ये ऑथर में से हट जाता है, पर हटने के लिए कर्सर नहीं आता है। हाँ, आ गया, राइट। सो 002 यहां से हट जाता है, A02 सॉरी, ऑथर में से एक रिकॉर्ड डिलीट होता है। So that same record with this ID A02 should not also present inside child. मतलब child से भी वो record हट जाना चाहिए. In that situation, this should also get removed. ये हट जाना चाहिए वहां से, ये हट जाना चाहिए, ये record यहाँ से हट जाना चाहिए. तो what I wanted intentionally, what we now see, you are having book ID. आप junction object में क्या बचा? 001. क्या बुक ऑब्जेक्ट में 001 है? यस है। A03, क्या ऑथर में A03 है? 003, क्या बुक ऑब्जेक्ट में 003 है। A01, क्या A01 है। मतलब नाउ इट इज कंटेनिंग ओनली दोज आईडी विच आर एक्चुअली प्रेजेंट इनसाइड योर पेरेंट्स ऑब्जेक्ट। मतलब बुक में जो भी आईडीज बची हैं वो भी बुक ऑब्जेक्ट में है, ऑथर आईडी में जो भी आईडीज हैं वो भी ऑथर ऑब्जेक्ट में हैं फिजिकली। देयर इज नो नल पॉइंटर. These are pointing to the actual records. These are now pointing to the actual records, and they are not pointing to some record that is not there. So intentionally here I wanted a functionality of cascade deletion. Here I intentionally wanted a functionality of cascade deletion. I wanted that if a parent record is deleted, if a record inside parent is deleted, all the associated child records, all the associated child with that parent record should also get deleted from the child object. I wanted to have cascade deletion. Now you tell me what should be the type of association, lookup or master detail? Come on. I intentionally wanted to have cascade deletion. Tell me what should be the type of relationship these two should be get associated. Your junction and parent should be associated in lookup or master detail. Come on, tell me. Come on, tell me. You can unmute yourself, no problem. Come on, tell me. Tell me the cascade deletion. Cascade deletion is a functionality. Is a functionality of what? Is a functionality.
Master.
Yeah, come on.
Master detail relationship.
Exactly. See, the junction object and your parent object, they are always associated. They are always associated in a master detail relationship. The junction object, okay, and your parent object, they are always associated in a master detail relationship. They're always associated in a master detail relationship, your junction object and the child object. Why? Because we intentionally wanted to have cascade deletion over here, right? That is the reason, that is the reason. Yeah, this thing always, yeah. So that is the reason, because you wanted to implement the cascade deletion functionality. And that is why your, the parent and junction object, they are always associated in master detail relationship. Because here we intentionally wanted to have cascade deletion functionality. Okay, if a record goes delete inside parent, the similar entry, that corresponding entry inside the junction, inside the child object should also be get deleted. And that is why your junction object are always associated to the parent in master detail relationship. All right, this is what many-to-many relationship signifies. So go with this lecture by today itself. This is not completed yet, but time has been over. So I would be taking, first of all, in the tomorrow's session, I'll first of all create two objects, book and author. We'll create certain records as well. And then we would try to associate them by, in the master detail relationship by creating one another object for this. And then we're going to have a few more discussion is left with this. Time has been over, but few more things I have to explain about this, so that I'm going to take it by tomorrow. So I'm going to continue this by tomorrow's session. All right. And I cannot take your question because I'm having only 2 minutes for the next batch. All right. Thank you so much for joining. Good day.